Greetings, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I am your host, Jason Cercone, and today I'm going to tell you why 2021 will be the year of the podcast. 2020 was definitely a big year for podcasting. We saw explosive growth in regards to new podcasts entering the fray, as well as listeners tuning into podcasts on a more frequent basis. We also saw Amazon join the party, which added another heavyweight to the battle for podcast dominance. So now that 2021 is in full effect, you might be wondering how this calendar year will deliver more impact than the one before it. It's something to ponder for sure. If you go back and listen to the past couple episodes of Pod Theory, I talked about some trends to be on the lookout for in 2021, as well as some takeaways from 2020 that are naturally going to bleed into the new year. But why do I think 2021 will be the year of the podcast? Well, one of the trends I've mentioned in episode 74 was that more brands and companies would be shifting to podcasting as their primary content approach. And the reason I believe this is that podcasting has gained mainstream relevancy. That's typically when people stop focusing on the negatives of a platform and start looking for ways it can benefit them. How long did some companies swear off websites because the internet was quote unquote just a fad? A long time. But eventually, websites became a necessity because people weren't turning to the yellow pages for answers anymore. Now, it's practically impossible to find any company that isn't operating without a website. Social media experienced similar acceptance. Companies didn't understand the power of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and how they could connect with their audience through these platforms when they first arrived. But as more companies shifted their focus towards social media platforms because that's where their audience was hanging out, brands that were ignoring those platforms started to miss out. So they followed suit and started using social media too. Now, the degrees of success that each company has experienced definitely has varied, but it became increasingly hard to thrive without some sort of social media presence in today's world. Now, podcasting has entered that same arena. More people are consuming podcasts on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, to the tune of over 104 million listeners ages 12 and up listening to podcasts monthly, according to PacificContent.com. It's also been estimated that that number will grow to over 120 million monthly listeners in 2021. This increased number of listeners has led to more advertisers putting emphasis on the podcast platform too. Consider this. In August 2020, it was reported there were just over 1 million active podcasts. As of January 2021, podcastinsights.com reported that number at 1.7 million. With this type of rapid growth, we should see 2 million active podcasts by spring of 2021. Will your podcast be part of that growth? It should be, because right now represents the best time to get on board with planning, launching, and building your show. All signs point to more listeners entering the picture, and your podcast could be a vehicle that helps bring them in. Think about it. Your audience is already on board with what you have to deliver, right? They're already checking out your social media content, your blog, your videos, your emails. And maybe they don't regularly listen to podcasts, but they will now because they're loyal to your brand and enjoy the content that you produce on other platforms. Or maybe you have fans of your brand who do nothing but listen to podcasts and they've been waiting for you to produce this type of content. Your podcast will get them even further entrenched in the medium, and that's a win-win for everyone. You steadily build your listener base, your listeners have great content to consume, and the podcasting medium continues to build popularity because more kick-ass content is available across the platform. I believe 2021 is going to be the year that more and more brands grab hold of this platform and start using it to their advantage. And you know what that means. It means those on the front end of this wave will be in a better spot as more podcasts join the mix. It means that quality and consistency will continue to be important factors in the production of your show. It means putting emphasis on a lead generating, brand enhancing, audience engaging podcast today will put you and your brand in a much better spot when every brand hops on this bandwagon and starts to roll out a podcast of their own. Utilizing the podcast platform to enhance your brand visibility and dive deeper into the subject matter that makes up your niche is the way to go. And 2021 is going to be the year this approach becomes more widely embraced. If you've been flirting with the idea of launching a podcast, it's time to take action. And if you've already launched a show, now is the time to focus your efforts on the evolution of your show and making it the very best it can be. And with that, episode 75 of Pod Theory is officially in the books. Have you been wondering if a podcast is a good fit for your brand? I wrote about this on jasoncercone.com and I included a link for you to check it out in the show notes. Please consume responsibly. Good talk. I'll see you back here next time. This has been Jason Cercone on Pod Theory.